Step right up. Welcome to the world of the strange, the unusual, the fantastic. Leave the commonplace behind and take a voyage to the unreal. You're about to witness human beings with talents that are so incredibly bizarre you may not believe your eyes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have now very great pleasure in asking Miss Jean Mansfield to switch on the autumn illuminations of 1959.
And there they go. Flashbulbs, maroons and all. And this year's surprise, a portrait of Jane Mansfield herself in lights. Then the front of the town hall in purple and gold and the red roses of Lancashire.
That's the most fantastic thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm completely speechless. Oh, thank you so very much, all of you. It's completely breathtaking. I'm without words.
From the town hall square, the lights come on in sections. Down the promenade to the famous tower. And there, right to the very top of the flagpole, 520 feet above the ground. And so down the whole length of the long promenade, with each pier twinkling its length out into the dark sea.
This year, the Blackpool Tower is 100, and to celebrate, it's been painted gold. Despite changing tastes and fashions, Blackpool has remained immensely popular. Millions continue to come here every year to forget themselves and the everyday lives they've left behind.
Every year, 7 million people come to Blackpool looking for a big time. They usually find it. It's under their noses and over their heads. That's the tower. Inside it now are 5,000 people, 2,000 fish, 3 lions, 4 tigers, and a vivarium containing crocodiles, turtles, monitors, water lizards, and a skink. These are the people who come to Blackpool.
There's a little bit of Blackpool out there in the people who come here. Each of our holidaymakers has their own dream, and they find they can live it out very often here in Blackpool. Blackpool Pulses, it's the kind of place where people really do come to let their hair down. They've let their hair down even before they've got off their coaches. They've come with that in mind. Blackpool was never genteel. In the 20s and the 30s, it was wide open. Perhaps it was even more wide open than it is today. They had defrocked vicars in barrels. They had Siamese twins on show to the public. Awful things by our standards.
I've travelled quite a bit in the past few years, and I've tried to describe Blackpool to people all over the world, and particularly in America, and no one really quite gets it. And you can sort of approximate it, but you can't actually get the real kind of essence of it, and the kind of sleaze and the tawdry aspect of it. It's tacky, and I mean that very affectionately. It is very, very tacky, and but I love it for that. I mean, everything about it is cheap and nasty, but I think that's a real quality, you know. And I'm kind of proud of that cheapness.
So, what do you think? What part of people does it appeal to?
Their most bestial, their most bestial side. And their kind of their non-serious side. I mean, you know, the kind of people that come here aren't looking for anything but fun, really, and kind of escape and fantasy and abandonment and intoxication and you know, kind dream life. The whole of Blackpool is very childlike. Going back there was a little like remembering a dream, when you see something in the course of a day that suddenly takes you back to the night before. And going back to Blackpool did the same in terms of evoking my childhood.
Stand by, everybody. Hold the thingy bob ready. Cut to my camera!
Just a minute. Charlie, take the earphones off. What do you think you're doing? You've spoilt the show already.
Hey, you got the funny face.
And where's my caption?
Cut to Norman's caption.
Hey,
Okay.
just a minute. It's upside down. Go on, clear on.
I'm aware of it, that kind of people that kind of recognise me from the circus. And I've seen all the children grow up. The nice thing is that they bring them along to the Superdome, and you say, oh, we used to come to the circus when we were children, and now we're bringing our children, and the grandparents say, oh, you still here? And they think I've been here for about 100 years.
From Mexico City, please welcome the incredible Marco Polo.
For me, it's always a challenge, you see, because I like to kind of look at the audience there, and it's a challenge. I am going to go out there, and I am going to conquer this audience, and I'm going to get the most I can out of this particular audience. And it's a job that I get paid for, of course, but I mean, I'm doing it with my heart. I'm working with my heart. You know, you put an audience in front of me, and then I'm in business. Beefy. All right. Good boy. My first real love was horses, but the budgies, they fit in the back of the car, and I can work anywhere in the world with them. Good lads. Most of the people in the audience have budgies or know somebody with a budgie. So with the tigers, you give them a reward of a piece of meat. The budgies won't actually accept a reward, so I have to kind of smooth them, and I kiss them and cuddle them, and that's their little reward for doing the things right. When Blackpool was created, it was made for the mill workers of Lancashire who work in mills, and then kind of on their weeks, they would come to Blackpool and have this kind of brash holiday. And I think it's still great. People still like it. They can feel free here.
Don't do that, Will. Now listen. Now listen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, their piece de resistance.
People come here to get away and just be thoroughly bad. The average holiday, I would figure for most people, is to eat far too much crap, drink far too much, smoke far too much, you know, have far too much sex and bad weather, and you know, it's not a kind of I wouldn't expect it's a fulfilling holiday, but you probably go home with the biggest hangover of your life.
Blackpool is built on an idea: people like people. If you don't like people at close quarters, then you could never like this. Blackpool is built on an idea: give them what they want. For that, you need imagination. You need to guess what they want before they want it. Blackpool is near the big cities of the north. Millions of people still live in streets like this. They are very patient people. Sometimes they hardly seem to mind. They are very cheerful people, and they've learned to live very close to one another. Blackpool isn't too different. People who call the midday meal dinner, not lunch. People who are never really sure about the future or the job, and who have learned somehow not to care. And standing here on the promenade looking at them, you're reminded not of the little things that make us all so very different, but of the tremendous things that make us all so very much alike.
I was brought up surrounded constantly by drunk people. It was not my family, I stress to it. My family actually never drank. But all the tourists, my image of everyone who visited the Grockles were always drunk, and therefore unmanageable and unpredictable and volatile and therefore scary.
Thank you very much. Now, our next one will be the slow foxtrot. So, if you want to have a dance and smile, now's your chance to do it. So this will be the slow foxtrot.
On the floor above the giant turtles, the Tower Ballroom offers live music from 10 a.m. to 11 at night. A rota of keyboard players provides the dedicated with a non-stop succession of quicksteps, tangos and other dance floor favourites.
I give my best to dancing. It's just me, I love it, don't we? It's everything, we just live to dance, don't we?
Yeah. Once you put your shoes on, that's it, you're a different person altogether. You just completely change.
Yeah.
Because you don't worry about anything else.
No, you don't see
just
nobody, do
dancing.
you?
No,
I think when you're in love it, you just cut everybody else out. You just think what you're doing, and you do your best. You feel like a princess.
Or you could say in the balcony or anything, as soon as the music's off, we're off.
A lot of Blackpool's like a film set, because everything's larger than life, and everything is made lurid or enlarged, or it's miniaturized, and everything that can be is transformed into a toy or a novelty or a fancy good, as they say. Everything's fantasy. It's a town out of its time, and I think that's a great part of its charm.
I think one of the things about Blackpool is it's never put on any airs and graces. It's always said what it was and always been what it was, and that's a place to come for just damn good fun. And in a funny way, no one's too humble to go to Blackpool, and no one's too sophisticated to come to Blackpool. They just come because it's about the only place in England where you can go start raving bonkers, really, I suppose.
How does one provide for people who want to go start raving bonkers?
Well, I think you've got to be a bit mad yourself. It certainly helps, and I think that's the case with our family, probably. Well, I think we lead very sheltered, innocent sort of lives these days. I mean, for young boys, there's no national service. They sit at home, watch television, they go to the pub. They don't really have a lot of excitement in their lives. A lot of people have very mundane lives. You can come to Blackpool, try going on the new big one roller coaster. That's probably the biggest excitement most people will have ever had in their entire existence.
I love the Pleasure Beach, yeah. I mean, it was the place I went the most. I mean, I lived, you know, only a 5-minute walk from the Pleasure Beach, and it was a great kind of backyard to have, you know. I mean, I kind of grew up with this whole sense of unreality. The river caves they were always kind of looked down upon as one of the rides in the Pleasure Beach because, you know, obviously it wasn't a scary ride, but it was the nearest thing the Pleasure Beach had to a tunnel of love, but it was kind of a trip around the world in like 4 minutes. And I find it very peculiar looking at it again now because I've actually been to quite a few places that are part of that exhibition, I mean, which I thought was so magical when I was a kid. Now I've actually been to those places and I see how kind of cheap and gimcrack the whole place is, but I love that.
In Blackpool's dream world, there's always a hint of things monstrous and exotic. The Tower's adventure playground, Jungle Gyms, has been set up on the site of the former Victorian roof gardens. Karim Baksh grew up in Blackpool. His father ran an Indian village right here in the 1930s.
There was a large stage at this end where they did juggling, Indian dancing, magic. My father, who ran it all, was known as a Royal Cader, and his was very famous sleight of hand. My father always wore Asian dress. Well, he wore a turban, And the turbine had a huge spray there. He was a big fella, 6 foot. And he always insisted on walking around in his Indian dress all the way around Blackpool. In this area here, there was a large snake pit. It wasn't a sort of wriggling mass of snakes, it was snakes in various cases. And it was, you walked up to this snake pit and looked down, and somebody demonstrated the various snakes, pythons, cobras, and various snakes like that. And they also showed you how to milk the poison out of a snake. You used to open the snake's mouth and press just behind the teeth, and the snake's poison used to come out.
Perhaps because the snakes were in the habit of escaping, the Indian village was short-lived, and after 2 years, the roof gardens reverted to their earlier role as a venue for the display of midgets.
Too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave. I'm gonna scream!
Quest for the unusual, the strange, and the incredible have been highlighted at exhibits just like the one you're in since the early 1930s. One of the many reasons for the popularity of Ripley's collections, which has sustained over these many years, is its focus on unusual people, not just in faraway places, but right here at home. Quiet, shy, sensitive to his size, Robert Wadlow was hesitant about appearing in public. This film was made to promote the company that manufactured his shoes, size 37 AA. Unusual disciplines, each one an oddity, each a once-in-a-lifetime experience, all authentic and rare. Believe it or not.
Ripley's, believe it or not, was a kind of freak show museum, which I used to go to all the time. At least once a week. I had a perverse fascination with it. And I found very macabre and moving when I was a kid, I suppose. But now looking back and romanticising it, but I do feel it's got some kind of influence on the way I think now. And in some way it sort of influences my acting in terms of the way my mind works.
In is one thing, getting them out is something else. Ouch! If you find this exhibition hard to swallow, meet Dagmar Rockman, the man who can swallow anything. Watch this. A mouse is right for size, but surely no one could overcome the natural revulsion of putting a live mouse in their mouth.
Oh me, oh my, I hope the little lady comes by. There's no other girl I could wait for. This one I'd break any date for. I won't have to ask why she's late for. She wouldn't leave me, but she's not a girl like that. She's absolutely wonderful and beautiful and marvellous, and anyone can understand why. I'm leaning on a lamppost at the corner of the street, in case a certain little lady comes by.
Step this way to the famous one. You've heard about it, you've read about it, now step inside and see it. This is Louis Dassault. Any more for the famous waxworks? You've heard about it, you've read about it. Step this way for the famous waxworks. Step inside and see all your stars, face to face. Pop stars, stage stars, sports stars, all at Louis Dassault. Any more for the famous waxworks? Any more for the famous waxworks? Step this way, this is Louis Dassault. Any more? Blackpool's #1 exhibition.
I think people come in because it's a way of getting close to a famous person that they particularly like, maybe a pop star or the royal family or, dare I say, a politician. But it's a way of getting up close to them without being rude or intrusive and looking to see what they really look like. And in fact, I mean, a waxworks is a work of art. I mean, it's like looking at a painting, isn't it?
I don't even remember much about the main exhibits. And what I was particularly attracted to was a section called the anatomical section, which you weren't allowed to go in unless you were, I think you had to be 18. But obviously we used to sneak in.
The birth of a baby in there is very realistically and truly done, and I think that young women come along with their daughters and can explain to them visually, with a visual aid, rather than telling them. It's very educational, it's very interesting. True to life, I mean, you can't get better than that.
People do want to see those images. They do want to see ugliness. They do want to see something that scares them to hell. And well, I certainly did. I still like seeing that sort of stuff. And I'm still kind of perverse and kinky about old medical instruments and anything clinical.
Making dreams come true, living tissue, warm flesh with science. Oh, magic moves and pots and pans, bits and pieces, bits and pieces, bits and pieces. My creation, is it real? It's my creation. Oh, my creation, it's my creation. Science, oh, magic and technology, voodoo dolls and chants, electricity will make with science. Oh, pictures from a magazine, diagrams and charts, mending broken hearts and make it with science. Something like a recipe, bits and pieces, bits and pieces, bits and pieces. My creation, is it real? It's my creation. I don't know. Hesitation, the heart of gold, flesh and blood. I do not know, from my heart and from my hand. Why don't people understand?
Blackpool, adult prices from $1.99 and kids eating from 99p. There's a lot more in the Brunswick Shopping Arcade, so have a good look round.
The last time I swam was when I was about 8 years old, and I went in the sea and it was freezing, and I remember coming out covered in tiny, I don't know what they were, but they were like tiny millimetre long maggots all over my body, and I still don't know what they were, but it was like some Stephen King novel. And I remember a very vivid image of coming out of the sea screaming for my auntie, and just like, and I mean my whole body was covered in these things. I've never been in this sea since. The sea here is never blue. It's never been blue as long as I've known it. It's like this dirty dishwater colour. And in a way, the town would feel much different if the sea was blue. You know, like in the Mediterranean or something, it would kind of, for a start, literally reflect onto the town itself.
Okay, hold tight. Here we go.
It's only since I've come back here, since living in London for 13 years or whatever, that I kind of appreciate how strange it is, you know. And anyone who's never been should come here, because it is kind of a very peculiar place.
Do you have much sense of reality yourself?
Not at all. Not at all. As I say, I kind of grew up in early childhood in a toy shop. I came from this town, which has no sense of reality. I moved to London, which isn't exactly a real city. and became an actor. And I don't have any sense of reality at all. And recently I've kind of been going back and forth to Los Angeles, which is in a way the same kind of game, you know, 'cause it's all facade and nothing's quite real. It's all synthetic. I mean, they're all tourist places and they all cater to the lowest common denominator. Maybe that's just human nature, that they're all kind of weird. You know, I think that's probably to do with human nature that we create these places.
I like to do bedrooms, cooking, do bill work, I do everything in general. But then I like to, be in control from start to finish. Well, takes a lot of hard work. You don't get rich overnight. I did think you would do. I thought 10 years would be enough, but I'm still here after 23.
She's put one of her best frocks down to do that. Are you ready? No. Wig. You do me wig. Well, I'll put my makeup on. Right. Are they ready? You put eyelashes on first. Yes, tell Peter. Yeah, because they don't stick if I don't, do they? Peter, she wants her eyelashes.
Party nights, you get a lot of people that can't get out. Or a lot of people that just, if they're in one bunch, it's nice to have atmosphere. It creates a good atmosphere.
But it doesn't matter if it's not rubbed in there, because they don't like it. They don't like it perfection.
I usually get up and do something myself, for a simple reason. Everybody's shy at first. And they used to ask me to sing. Well, I can't sing, so I mime. And I find that makes them laugh. So, okay, as long as they enjoy it, I'm not bothered. I love doing it, I'll be honest. I love doing that bit. In fact, it is hard work, party nights, but I don't know, it just it gives me a buzz. I think a lot of people's got a lot of problems back home, haven't they? Let's face it, Blackpool's one of them places where you do things you would never do anywhere else. I think you go back to your childhood, really. You'd be surprised how many adults are like kids. But they enjoy it, that's what it's all about.